Ji-ho grabbed her by the hand, in order not to drag his wife into his predicament. He said that he would soon go with Lon and I to get a divorce. Ji-ho's 2 children suffered from his plight. The younger sister disliked her sister's cooking. She cried and wanted to go out for fried chicken. Ji-na advised her sister to understand her father's difficulties, but her sister knocked over the bowl on the floor. Seeing the only rice left in the house being wasted by her sister, Ji-na got angry and scolded her sister. Outside the door, Ji-ho heard this and felt very bad. He rushed into the house and picked up his daughter in pain. Feeling guilty, he promised his daughter that he would take them out for fried chicken next week. At that moment, Ji-na suddenly covered her nose and ran out. It turned out that her daughter had been suffering from nosebleeds due to overwork. At night, Ji-ho sat alone on the floor. Tears welled up in the corners of his eyes as he looked at his 2 sleeping daughters. The breakdown of an adult may be in this moment. Ji-na was also bullied by her classmates at school. They teased her that her real mom and stepmom had both run away. The classmates sarcastically called Ji-na an unwanted stray dog. Ji-na got into a fight with her classmates. Then she went to Lon and I with a bruised face to complain. When she found out that her stepdaughter was being bullied, Lon and I didn't ignore it. She politely gathered the students and parents together. She confessed that the parents' divorce was not the child's fault. The family was living in a rented house after the father went bankrupt. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Who here can guarantee that their lives will be smooth sailing? Lon and I then went on to accurately name the strengths and specialties of each of the children in the room, and said that these were the words Ji-na used to praise and envy them in her diary. The students who had bullied Ji-na were all in a state of guilt. They sincerely apologized to Ji-na. What Lon and I did was seen by Ji-ho, who came to see her. Afterwards, Ji-na sent a special text message to Lon and I, thanking her for going to the school to stand up for herself. But Lon and I's mom accidentally saw the message. The mother accused Lon and I of being divorced and not meddling in her own affairs. She then asked Ji-ho out alone. She urged him to take her daughter to the divorce office, and told him to take care of his daughter. He told him to stop bothering Lon and I's life. After hearing this, Ji-ho agreed to his mother-in-law's request. The next day, he took his daughters to eat chicken fried steak. Then Ji-ho told his daughters not to contact their stepmother again. The daughters were very saddened by this. Soon it was the day they agreed to go through with the divorce. But Ji-ho was late. Lon and I heard his stomach growling, so she decided to take him there first. She decided to take him to dinner first, and then go through the divorce procedure. Looking at Ji-ho, who was much more haggard, Lon and I thoughtfully pushed the rice in front of him. At this moment, Ji-ho gave a heartfelt speech. He thanked Lon and I for her dedication to the family since she married him, and for being so kind to his 2 children. Ji-ho regretted that he was always guarding Lon and I. He never cared about her and Tom's feelings, but the disappointment doesn't go away with an apology. Then they went to the civil office to file for divorce. When they got home, Lon and I took off her wedding ring and sealed it away. At the same time, Ji-ho also took off his ring. Their marriage is over, but Ji-na missed her stepmother, so she wrote her a letter. After reading the letter, Lon and I became very conflicted, but her mother kept urging her during dinner. She told her to hurry up and finish the rest of the divorce paperwork. She told her daughter to find a rich man and remarry while she could still have children. The father strongly disagreed with the mother this time. He thought her daughter should find someone in the same situation as her and live with him. She must not cause her grandson any more harm. But Lon and I didn't want to think about marriage at that moment. In the days that followed, she thought back to that day when Ji-ho cried. In fact, Lon and I wanted to give Ji-ho another chance, so she texted Ji-ho and asked him to meet her. After they met, Lon and I teased him. She said that her mind was filled with images of Ji-ho crying for the past few days. Ji-ho lowered his head in shame. Lon and I said that they didn't know each other for a long time before they got married. After they got married, they tried their best to disguise themselves for the sake of their family. As a result, they didn't really know each other, and that's why the marriage failed. Then Lon and I suggested that they start as friends and get to know each other again. When he got home, Ji-ho couldn't hide his joy, so he invited Lon and I out for a drink. Lon and I received the message and smiled happily. After her mother fell asleep, she snuck out. They met at a stall for a drink and a chat. Ji-ho changed his macho behavior. He thoughtfully wrote down all of Lon and I's favorites and taboos. Lon and I was no longer shy. Her personality gradually became more open. Soon both of them had a heart-thumping understanding to hold hands with each other. Like a couple in love, they became more and more intimate with each other. It's true that distance produces beauty. Just when everyone thought that the 2 of them would get remarried, Lon and I's ex-husband came to Tom's school after his release from prison. He learned from his son that his ex-wife had divorced, and that she was living at her mother's house. The next day, the ex-husband bought a lot of gifts and came to Lon and I's house. Lon and I's parents were shocked. In order to show their wealth nowadays, Junhee even showed his business card as the current chairman. His mother immediately changed her attitude and asked him if he's remarried. She wanted her daughter to get remarried with him, but the father, who found out the truth, kept urging Junhee to leave. It turns out that his father knew about Junhee's recent release from prison. That's why he doesn't trust him with his daughter and grandson. But Junhee asked his father-in-law if a criminal is not qualified to be a father. When Lon and I came home, Her mother told her that Tom's father had come to visit, and that he's now a big boss. But Lon and I says he was pretending. Lon and I still doesn't want to see Junhee again. But Ji-ho, who was in love, made a mistake at work. The company's product lost its place in the trade show. The leader of the company scolded Ji-ho severely. When Lon and I found out about it, he brought Ji-ho to the trade show leader in the middle of the night. Seeing Ji-ho stammered in front of the other party did not dare to say anything. Lon and I pulled him away and went straight to the leader and began to complain to him. He confessed that he had an old man and a child waiting for them to support him. With a sad face, he begged the leader to help him. Sure enough, after Lon and I's plea, the leader finally agreed to help her. When Lon and I returned home, she was scolded by her mother. She was warned to cut off her relationship with her poor son-in-law. The next day Junhee came to Lon and I's mother's house. He then took envelopes out of his pocket and gave them to their mothers. The mother liked Junhee more and more, so she left Junhee with good food and wine. When Lon and I returned home, she was shocked at the scene in front of her. Then she got angry and called her ex-husband outside to talk to him. Lon and I was disgusted by such a shameless man. The reason why she and her son have been living in such a lowly state for so many years, it was all to pay off her ex-husband's debts. Luckily, she met Ji-ho, who helped her pay off the debt. She didn't realize that her ex-husband would come to her house now. Junhee thinks that Lon and I has no feelings for her husband. She chose to marry him because she wanted to pay off her debt. Junhee thinks that now is the best time for Lon and I to remarry him. He also said that he is now able to take care of the child. Then he confessed that he wants to send his son to an elite school. Lon and I, however, did not take it well and rebuked Junhee. He said he wouldn't raise Tom during the divorce. Now he's coming back and shamelessly acting as if nothing happened. That night, Lon and I dressed up for the occasion. She lied to her mother that she was going to a tea party with her co-workers. Then she grabbed her clothes and rushed out of the house. It turns out Lon and I couldn't wait to go on a date with her ex-husband. Ji-ho thoughtfully put her hand in his pocket. Lon and I is also holding Ji-ho's sleeve with a happy face. It's hard to tell that they're newly divorced in such a sweet scene, but their date was caught by their mother. Her mother, despite Lon and I's obstruction, turned her back on Ji-ho. She warned him to stay away from her daughter. She told him that her ex-son-in-law is now back. The mother accused Ji-ho that if he had a conscience, if he has a conscience, he should stop bothering his daughter. When she got home, she called her family to talk to her daughter, but Lon and I praised Ji-ho as a good man. She said that she could only find her heartbeat with him. The father also saw the change in Ji-ho. He recognizes his daughter's current thinking, but the mother thinks that Ji-ho has no money. She scolded Lon and I to recognize the reality. It's not too late to remarry Junhee. At this time, Ji-ho was drinking alone at home. All he could think about was Lon and I. So the next morning, he took the initiative to find Lon and I. He asked Lon and I if she was dating Tom's father. Lon and I denied it and said that her ex-husband had only visited Tom. The two of them didn't meet alone in private. Ji-ho couldn't sleep last night because of this. He said that he could beat any man for Lon and I, but he's afraid that the only one he can't beat is Tom's real father. After hearing this, Lon and I rushed forward to comfort Ji-ho. She confessed that she has no thoughts about her ex-husband. It was only after Lon and I's comfort that Ji-ho's heart finally settled down. And Ji-ho's two daughters were not idle at the moment. They went to the school to send Tom a handmade card. Yeona also prepared candies for Tom. However, the mother thought that Ji-ho was behind what the daughters did. Meanwhile, Ji-ho, who was eating rib soup, received a call from Lon and I, who said to Ji-ho in a cute voice that she also wanted to eat rib soup. When the two hung up, Lon and I accidentally coughed. Unexpectedly, Ji-ho heard it and directly went to her with the rib soup, and also brought her a pack of cold medicine very thoughtfully. This move instantly made Lon and I feel very touched, and decided to personally make Ji-ho her most famous kimchi to eat. However, at this time, Junhee also came to Lon and I's house with gifts, and entered the door and praised Lon and I's mother with sweet words. Her mother also warmly entertained this wealthy son-in-law. Lon and I, who could no longer bear it, directly called her ex-husband over for a private conversation, warning him not to shamelessly come to her house in the future. Unexpectedly, Junhee's face was even thicker than she had imagined, and she even asked Lon and I to bring her son to live with her. Junhee's words left Lon and I speechless. Just as Lon and I and Ji-ho's relationship gradually became as good as before, Ji-ho suddenly received child support from his ex-wife for their two children. Although he was in a desperate situation, he was still prepared to return the child support. However, he discovered that his ex-wife's newly opened fried chicken restaurant had closed down. Just as Ji-ho was about to leave, he met his ex-wife's mother. The two meeting was just seen by Lon and I, who happened to be passing by. The scene in front of her made her feel very uncomfortable. What happened next even more surprised Lon and I. She never imagined that Ji-ho, in such a desperate situation, could still find money to support his ex-wife's family. This instantly shattered all of Lon and I's illusions about Ji-ho. Meanwhile, Lon and I's mother was at home chatting with Junhee. When she saw her daughter come home, she quickly arranged for Lon and I to go on a date with her ex-son-in-law. Although Lon and I didn't want to, she had no choice because Tom was still at Junhee's place. In the end, she had to meet with her ex-husband. Lan and I rushed over and was about to drag her son home, but the cunning June he used the child as an excuse and directly kept Lan and I. She also shamelessly asked Lan and I to take a photo with her son. Jiho had also bought Lan and I a New Year's gift. He arrived at Lan and I's house happily. However, he did not receive a reply to the text message he sent to Lan and I. The temperature was below freezing, and Jiho was shivering. At that moment, a black luxury car drove past Jiho. Then Jiho saw Lan and I get out of the car with her son. He quickly turned his head away when he saw this. At that moment, the driver took out a mink coat from the car and gave it to Lan and I. Jiho looked down at the insignificant gift in his hands, and feeling inferior, he turned around and tried to leave, but happened to bump into Lan and I's father, who also directly advised Jiho to leave his daughter's side. Jiho had no choice but to preserve the little dignity he had. After returning home, he kept thinking about what his ex-father-in-law had said, and conjured up warm images of Lan and I with her ex-husband.